All right, guys, I'm going to continue with the MOWG Toolbar version 17.6 updates, and we have the last macro to talk about, profile and batch generator. There are a few pieces to it, actually, and you know what profiles are, and you know what the batch files are. So let me just go look at some of that in the HB to make sure you're clear. All right, let me go to any one of these. All right. All right, HB Geo sub say. All right, what do we have? In our system folder, we have a single profile, all right, that has to do with the run. That's the one. There's some other profiles, but that's for uploading by FTP, uploading the zip files, actually. So those things are auto-generated during the process. This runs this at one point, which will run these, which will create those. All right, so never mind those. Just keep in mind this is the main profile, ZZ Auto Create in this case. Okay. Now here's what we realized: if you try to do several runs at once, because we like to do several profiles at once, and what I mean by that is let's just take a look. You guys know, in the menu we make this a main folder on your website, yourdomain.com/, and this would be the folder. And then for subdomains, it's perfect because you log in your hosting account control panel and you go to your subdomains tab and you set up the relationship where this is the subdomain, http:// this yourwebsite.com. And then this will be a different subdomain, http:// that.yourdomain.com. That.yourdomain.com, that.yourdomain.com. Now that's for subdomains. If it's a regular project run, project folder style run, it's the same thing functionally from this end. We have to upload 10 folders. And so that's 3 through 12. Number 3 through number 12 represents the top 10 keywords you pasted onto your client form, right? Where you filled in that form and hit submit, all that kind of thing. So these are your top 10 keywords, so they're used for your top 10 folders. It's just kind of the way we set up the automation to be sensible, for different purposes, for different people to run in different keyword combinations, and we can generate sensible folders for all those people. It's based on their thing, and it's the top 10 of these. Okay, so it is the top 10 keywords, and that means when you generate the menu, it's coming off of the top 10 of these. All right, so that's 2 through 13 actually. It starts there to create the menu and it uses those keywords, okay? Whatever the top 10 keywords were. All right, so anyway, what's the point? We don't want to run these one at a time, okay? Because that's what normally happens, right? And then we have to run them one at a time. Why would that be, by the way? That's because when you run a profile, okay, where am I at? HB GeoSub system. HB no GeoSub. Let me get into the right place. System. ZZ Auto Create. Okay. It's going to use the CSV file we say. Okay. To generate whatever the run's going to be. Right. That's the way it's all set up. Okay. Now this is all funny. This is not correct. This is from an earlier example when I was saying it out before. So don't bother worrying about it. That's not anything important. Okay. All right. And that's just gone because I didn't fill it in or didn't change it. We're past the FTP tab glitchiness finally. If this is filled out, then it will remain filled out until you intentionally change it to something else. Okay, I can even just like browse to grab something now, just kind of for fun, and just to give it a focus so you can kind of see it, right? So let's just say I was going to go in here and say HB sub system. I'm going to upload that. Okay, I'm just going to say that. Now that's there, and so it looks right. Okay, this is filled out, that is filled out. Whoops, except it's not going to auto upload. Okay, back. Get everything set the way you want, right? Whether it's uploading or not. When you do zip files, you don't need to upload because we're going to upload the zip files with the FTP uploader. So don't even worry about uploading. You don't want to upload when you run the profiles, right? Not for the HB automation. You guys should know what that's all about because it's kind of our primary focus these days. All right, so in any case, the problem is even though you can open MOWG Professional in multiple instances at the same time, and you can, I can upload a copy of the same thing, and I can load something else up, or even the same thing literally, except it wouldn't make sense, right? The only reason I would do it is if I created a different project folder name, and then I said, run this one, and run this one, go and go. Except what's the problem? They both use domain-1.csv, the exact same one, the same one, okay? And they can't both use the same one at the same time. A CSV file can only be used by one process at a time, so that will not work. But what if we took our domain1.csv, domain-1.csv, and we made a copy and called it like domain-2.csv? Or even if we wanted to just know domain-1.csv was the main one, we could make domain-1-1.csv. Then we have like domain-1-2.csv, domain-3-3, or I'm sorry, domain-1-3.csv. And they're all copies really of domain-1.csv. Well, then guess what? All of them can run at the same time. And on the batch files, they can all run at the same time. Isn't that cool, right? And so what do we decide to do there? Let me get to the first point of showing you all this stuff. When we came out with a profile generator, okay, profile and batch generator, it takes the CSV file or the var sheet that you are on now, and I don't have one loaded. It takes it and matches it to a profile that you tell it. You select the profile path by browsing to it, right? And then you can say, well, even though I want them to start at the same time, maybe I want them to delay a few seconds apart from each other. There's some reasons for that. And maybe not. You see, if they all run next to each other, you only want this to be like 1 or 2 seconds between when they start. And that's just so that when it creates the keywords for the keywords folder and it creates the date timestamp CSV file for the keywords, they don't trip over each other trying to access the same keyword CSV file, because it could try to create two CSV files with the same exact second. But if you offset it by a second, then it won't. And if your computer's a touch slow and the computer clock's not quite that accurate, down to whatever the thousandth of a second, then you can make it 2 seconds just to be sure, and now they won't trip. Numbered CSV, you guessed it, that's it. When it creates the various profiles, the 10 different profiles for the 10 menu items, it can number the CSV name used per profile automatically or not. Okay, let me go back to point out. We're going to do this in a second, but that's because it's got two parts it's got to do that with. All right. It has to number this one, so it's got to use different variations. And in our automation, we built this in. If you've never seen it, you can see it now. It's kind of cool. Okay, let me just unclick that. I downloaded it recently. Take a look at this. While it's running, when it fills this stuff out, it's going to create a copy called domain-1.csv. It takes the original and makes a copy called domain-1.csv, which is right here. And then it's going to run further down the menu generator on it, and it's going to run the MOWG auto run on it to create the 10 copies and the batch files that go with. And guess what it's going to do? Move the CSV file into the system folder, and then it's going to copy it. Copy it with these 10 names that I already decided, because that goes with the auto numbering mechanism. It takes the original name, domain-1, and it auto numbers it with -1, then -2, then -3. That's what MOWG Auto Run does if you choose to turn that feature of numbering the CSV files on. That is exactly numbered CSV, yes or no. That means it's going to put the -1, -2, -3, and so on, all the way through 10 to -10. The other thing it's got to do that with, though, is the unique version that goes with it, the one you don't open, the one you let the computer or let MOWG Pro deal with. Okay? Because it uses that to bridge how it understands the CSV file. So just let it do its thing on here. But if you already had these combinations set up, great. If you already have these set up, great. But you know how it goes. If I wanted to change the keywords and do a whole different run with different information on here and I filled out my client form, that changes that. But then if I run the profile generator, it creates 10 versions of my ZZ Auto Create profile, and they say to use these other ones. Well, these other ones are not updated unless we overwrite them with copies of this thing where we save this with all those different names. That's what this was doing. That's what it does. It automatically overwrites all of them by saving a copy of the one you filled out just now, right? Well, you didn't fill it out. You filled out this one, but it creates a copy of that with that name. And then as it goes further along, it's going to run all the profiles to say use all the variants, and then it's going to copy them to update all of those. Now, I always leave these alone because we're assuming you're not changing any of the vars, right? If you do, then that changes things. You got to update all these manually. Okay, now we could create a step in here that updates them all manually from inside here, but it's still more stuff you don't need to know right now. Because if you did change vars, if you literally created new vars, if you put in new vars and saved it, then you got to add that information to the HTML page. Somewhere the var's got to be in the HTML page at least once. And then you got to open this profile, ZZ Auto Create, and refresh the vars on that second tab so that it can refresh this guy, the one it uses. Then we got to make copies of this 10 times. All right, so we're assuming you're not changing the vars on our HB program. You're leaving them alone. These are the vars you want, and that's all you want. We're assuming you're not changing them. Okay. All right. So having said that, when you downloaded the HB, it already had 10 of these unique domains with all the right vars. We don't need to open them, and the profile expects them. And these are already there too, but we're going to override them every time with the newest information that got put on the form. You know, like your client form updates the sheet and then it updates all these, and these just go right along with it. They don't need to be updated, okay? Because it's all the same vars. All right. So now how does that work? That works like this. Say I open this domain-1.csv. Okay, and it's going to put the output in this output folder, just so you know. Okay, there's nothing in there now, just to show you. Output folder's empty. Yeah, look at my hands, they're empty. Look at my sleeves, nothing there, nothing on my sleeve. HBGO subsystem, right? Watch this. Domain-1.csv, MOWG Toolbar, Profile and Batch Generator. Select the profile path. It will look in its own folder, so it will happen to look in the right place. Okay, that is the right one then. All right, what is the delay I want in seconds? If you're doing this manually, you might need a delay. If you're doing it the way we do it these days, you put like 1 or 2. Okay, do you want to number the CSV? Let's say yes or no. Let me start with no. That way I'll really make sure you get this point. It did it. So if I look at my output, it has all the information. Okay. And just going through it real quick so you understand what's going on. These are my 10 profiles used. It starts with the original ZZ Auto Create, and then it appends the keyword it's using from the menu. Dash easy ways to make money, dash easy way to make money, dash how to make online money, dash make extra money online. Where did he get that data? Exactly from the menu, right? These top 10 items from 3 through 12. Okay, 3 through 12, that's the top 10. That's where it got that stuff. Okay. Now, if I open it, if I open any one of these, now this doesn't go to the same folder, so I got to go there manually. HBGO sub, make sure it's the right one, system, output. Let's say I open one of these. Okay. I did or didn't fill that out. I always forget. All right. Easy way to make money, easy way to make money. See, the subdomain is intact. It's all perfect. Easy ways to make money.mowgsamples.com, which goes right to mowgsamples.com/easy ways to make money, which is the way you would expect. For a subdomain folder like this, you would expect that. But it's using domain-1.csv. Let me load a different one. Domain-1.csv. Let me load a different one. Domain-1.csv. Therefore, could I run all of the corresponding batch files at the same time? No, because then all of these are going to start running and they're all trying to access the same CSV file. That's why we created that sleep interval in the first place, because it only needs the CSV file long enough to produce the pages, and then it starts to do FTP uploading if you have that option selected. But while it's uploading, it does not any longer use the CSV files anymore. Okay. So the next one can start generating pages right behind it while it's uploading by FTP. It can start to happen almost right away. So what do we do with our little sleep idea? Edit. The first one just starts right away, and it starts running the first one is the idea. Now I'll make a point about this in a minute. And then when it's done, it's going to run the next one. Okay. It's easier to see it that way. It's really 2 lines. Each line, by the way, says open the program. That's why it's in double quotes, because there's spaces in here, and for commands you have to use double quotes around a whole thing. Like this is one whole thing. Just happens to have space for program files and then another space before x86. Okay, that's because I'm on 64-bit. Then when it's done with that, it says run it on auto, so there's a space before and after auto to separate it. Then it says run what? Run the profile path, and then it names the profile it's going to run. Keep in mind the way we built the automation, it always assumes that the profiles are in one place. That's C MOWG Autorun folder inside the profiles. C MOWG Autorun profiles. That's why we include a shortcut to it often, or tell people to create a shortcut to it. I have a shortcut to it. It's right here, MOWG Autorun, and that's what it is. It's C MOWG-Autorun / profiles. And this thing gets created when you run the automation, and all those profiles get moved in there. They get moved from here, and they actually get moved from there to here. And then when they're done being here later in the next step, it's going to move them. The profiles it's going to move into here. And if you're running the 32-bit version, you got to go one step deeper into the 32-bit folder to see your profiles, okay? But that's all right. Let me show you why. I know it's kind of long to explain, but once you get it, it's a piece of cake and you love it and you're so happy it happens. Let me show you why. The 32 bits for all you guys on 32-bit, if we edit that and look at it, it says the same thing, except it also says 32, the 32-bit version. Okay, so all your profiles will go in the 32-bit. Do you have to move them? Nope. That's exactly why we built the automation to do it for you. Edit. Okay, so down here, it's going to move this stuff properly into the right place for you, and you don't have to worry about it at all. And actually, you can see the line of code right here, and it sort of explains what it's doing. You don't need to worry about that. That's for the 64-bit. I think I deleted the 32-bit at one point. Or actually, with the new version, I don't even think we had to separate, but that just made me realize maybe we do. For 32-bit. Yeah, I'll make sure that stuff happens. If it doesn't happen already, better put a troubleshooting note down just to make sure, because I'm coming out with a new version. I'm reorganizing things also to make it easier still. So I just want to make a point about that. 32-bit version of 1-run.bat. Okay, got it. Make sure that works. All right, what do I want to say now? Oh yeah, so check this out. We went in here and that wasn't in here, was it? Nope. HBGO sub output. Yeah. We went in here and saw that they all go domain-1, 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 right? And all these things will run these when they're in the right place. Okay, they got to be cut from here, basically cut or copied, okay? And they got to be put in the right place, which the automation does. It's just you could do it too, okay? Most of you guys are on 64-bit. You could do it too, and then those batch files will run just fine, okay? So if they're all deleted, it looks like this. And then you can run your 1.bat, 2.bat, 3.bat, 4.bat, 5.bat. Or for the case of 32-bit, it would be 1-32.bat, 2-32, 3-32. But if you're running 32-bit, just don't forget, these go where? Control X, Control V, in that 32-bit folder, right? They got to be in that 32-bit folder because that's where the batch files think they are, in the 32-bit folder, right? I think I beat that to death, right? All right, so anyway, and they got the sleep timer for the sleep offset, so they wait before they start, which is cool. This starts right away. This next one will wait for 2 seconds. The next one will wait for 4. You can even see it. It says sleep 4 because it's doing the intervals. This will be sleep 6, right? If I had said sleep 15, then that would start right away. Because why not? It can start right away. Nothing's running yet. But then the next one will sleep for 15 seconds. This will sleep for 30. This will sleep for 45 and 60. Okay? Same exact thing happens with the 32-bit if you're on it. The first one starts right away. The first one. Next one starts however many seconds later. Next one starts double that. Next one starts triple that. So they all take their turns waiting to use the CSV file. But that's what my point is about this, okay? This is what we thought was a better idea. Let me delete all that stuff actually. Okay, and the full stack is a full stack. It just runs one after the next. So instead of running them at once, it goes the old time slow way of running one after the next, after the next, after the next, and they will never trip. Okay, they just don't trip because they take turns. When one is finished, the other one begins. All right, and then the next one, then the next one. Okay, so let me get back there and show you the way this works now, system. And this is the coolest thing. I got my ZZ Auto Create. I want to run 10 at once, say, or it actually runs 5 at a time, right? Because it creates 5 batch files, and they each have 2 of the profiles on them. One has 2 of them, another has 2 of them, if we number. But it has 2 of the profiles that we're going to run, and it runs the first one. When it's finished, it runs the second one. So there's really 5 at a time. Somebody said, why don't you just have all 10 run in parallel? And the answer is that'll actually use so many resources on your computer, it may crash your computer. If you only have 8 cores, like 4 hyper-threaded cores, or 6 cores on an AMD machine, but you're trying to run 10 of these at once, your computer could go unstable. It could just kind of like crash on you because it's too much, too fast. All right. That's why we maxed out at 5 and said just run one, then run the next. That's the whole purpose behind that. But watch this. Let me do the same thing. I open my domain and I go here and I'm going to do profile and batch generator, select the one I want. BAP, it's the one in the right folder. Maybe it's 2 seconds I want. But yes, number them. That way they can all run at the same time. Yes, for numbered CSV. Submit. Now let's see what that looks like. Inside the output folder, I've got the same thing. They each say run one of these profiles. Except let's look at the profiles now. That's the coolest thing. Wow. Okay. This one's got one of those. They're not in the same order that we thought. It might be done alphabetically or it might be done differently or just top down, but whatever. This is domain-1-5.csv actually. And that means it's going to use domain-1-5. And it also uses unique domain-1-5. So it uses those at the same time, but while it's doing that, we can have another one start like a second or two later. That's using domain-1-8, which also means it's using unique domain-1-8. Get it? And that's exactly what's happening here. Each one of these uses a different one of them. They go 1 through 10. Okay, whatever ones, they go 1 through 10. But they can run literally a second or two apart instead of wait for each other to be completely done with a CSV file. It's just, oh, so much faster, right? Theoretically, we only need 1-1 through 1-5, like I said, because the batch files, it'll run one of them, and then when that one's done and released already, it'll run the next one. So they could take turns using the same CSV file. But since I really don't know what the order is that these profiles show up on these batch files, because the orders are different than I know, it's not always going to be the same, it was just wise to have them each use their own CSV file anyway. Okay, it's just more robust. All right. So there you have it, and that's in there. Now, for people who are asking, wow, is that built into the automation? And yes, of course it is. And here's what I mean by that. The MOWG autorun.vbs and menugenerator.vbs are two automated scripts that you can preset to do the same job as opening Excel and actually hitting them. Menu generator, yes, we have an automation feature for that. And yes, we have an automation feature for the profile and batch generator. Both of them have automation features, and that's what these VBS files are. So if I want to right click and edit the VBS to see what this thing looks like in Notepad, okay, I don't know what most of this says, but I see a couple of things I recognize. One, this is the exact file it's going to deal with. Now, when it deals with it, desired results is 10. This is for the menu generator. That means desired results is 10. And then it's going to say, what column do you want to work with? Well, it counts. By count, I mean this is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I say 7 because that's var 1003. And that's what I normally want it to use. You know, one of the keywords columns, it doesn't really matter if it's 7, 8, or 9 because it's 1003, 1004, 1005. They're all the same normally, but I just set it for that and I know it's good. Lucky number 7, whatever. And then the rest of it is there. If you want to physically see this thing open in front of your face and work, set this to true with a capital T. Make sure to beware of spaces. If there's a space, you better preserve it. If you don't want to see it, then just leave it at false because you don't need to see it. Let it run behind the scenes. Okay. Now, that was for the menu generator. And what that means is that when this runs it, it will run it. It will run the menu generator in that system folder. That's why it says system/menugenerator.vbs. And whatever that thing is told to do, it does. Then it runs inside the system folder the MOWG autorun.vbs. MOWG autorun, that is exactly the profile and batch generator. And if we look at that, yes, can you make copies, give them different names, and just rename them on your batch files? And can you make copies and have them all run in parallel or neck and neck and do different things and access different files? You can. I didn't need to have this thing, I didn't need 10 copies to work with each of these because first I had menu generator update the one, and then later after that is done, once the menu generator is already done running and the MOWG autorun, then it's going to make copies of that perfected file each time around, right? Take the same domain-1.csv and make it each next one that I wanted, right? Each next one that I wanted. Use the same one to create each next one. That way it's always the same anyway, okay? And so since the menu was already done, the menu generator, then when it goes copying all these things, they're all going to have the menu generator done. That way I didn't have to run the menu generator 10 times or 11. All right, so MOWG autorun. Let's take a look at that. Edit. Always hit these things if you see them. That's going to be part of the operation video that explains how to run this thing. Sometimes some of you guys are going to have to deal with this in the beginning because all these files came from a different machine and they're really core. So your computer's warning you, are you sure you want to run it? And it stops it from happening automatically until you click this and say, don't always ask before opening this file, right? So we open it. Now, again, you're not going to recognize a lot of it, but you'll recognize some things. This is the CSV file it's going to work with. And it needs to use that CSV file in conjunction with this profile we want to work with. This is why we say your profile must have the name zzAutoCreate.pfl, right? That's why our profile is called, wherever it is in here, zzAutoCreate.pfl, because the MOWG Autorun is looking for that name. Okay, can you make copies of these things and have them run next to each other? Can you have copies of the profile and copies of the Autorun and copies of the menu generator that all work with different combinations of these things? Yes, you can. That's where some of the power users really hit things hard and they do 10 different websites at one time. They know how to do that. They just literally make copies of these, give them different names, and then in their batch file, they run these things at different times or in a cycle or at the same time. It's just a matter of knowing how to set it all up. So it's going to use a CSV file and map it to the profile, and the sleep time variable is that sleep time variable, whether it's 2 or 15 or 38 or 72 or whatever you thought was best for your computer. And numbered CSV, since we get to go yes, wonderfully, usually on everyone's computer, sleep time variable can be simply a 1 if your computer is really fast or a 2 if your computer is really slow. Okay? Because it will still register the next second, then the next second anyway, and so it's not going to be an issue. All those keyword files will be created next to each other rather than trip over each other. Okay? Number CSV, yes, that's wonderful. Again, do you want to see it open in front of your face when it runs? Then turn on the application visible equals true with a capital T instead of false with a capital F. And always be mindful of spaces. We have it on false. You normally don't need to see this thing run, so who cares? Anyway, there you have it. That's it. All right, so that's what I wanted to show you. The MOWG Toolbar version 17.6 is seriously fast, seriously powerful. It's got a tremendous amount of power in it. And you've got Mass, the profile creator, just if you wanted to do it locally, and the profile and batch generator for running profiles and batch files, and being able to move with them from there. All right, that's cool. I hope you enjoy that and see kind of where all this stuff is going. It's allowing just tremendous, tremendous automation for things that we didn't have automation for before without losing the flexibility to still do anything any way you want. All right, I hope you enjoy it. And here I am over and out on this one. And I'll come out with the next video, I think, is going to be after I do the latest version of the one MOWG HB, and that will finally be video training for it instead of just the written instructions. The written instructions are great, but it's probably high time we do video training for it end to end, especially on the new version. All right, chat with you later, and thanks for watching.